All right, let's talk about something you probably use every single day, but maybe never really think about. We're going to pull back the curtain on this invisible conversation that's happening constantly between your hand and your screen. Welcome to the secret life of your wireless mouse.
I mean, look at them. Your mouse, your keyboard, they're just there. We totally take them for granted because, well, they just work. But underneath that simple click, there's this incredibly elegant, surprisingly complex dance going on. They're basically the silent partners in everything you do on your computer.
But seriously, have you ever stopped and wondered what's really happening in that split second? When you move your mouse, what is it actually saying to your computer? How does it know what to do? It's not magic, I promise you. It's a language, and we're about to become fluent.
Okay, so for any of this to work, you just can't have every mouse from every company speaking its own weird dialect. Can you imagine the chaos? It'd be a nightmare. So the first big hurdle to clear was creating a universal language. You know, a common set of rules so that any mouse could talk to any computer. And that universal language has a name. It's called the Bluetooth Human Interface Device Profile. Yeah, it's a mouthful, so everyone just calls it HID. Think of it like a universal translator for all your gadgets. It's this global standard that means a device made in one country can talk to a computer made in another. And you, the user, don't have to go hunting for a bunch of special drivers. It just works.
So in this whole conversation, you've really only got two main players. First, you have the HID device. That's the speaker. In our case, it's the mouse. Then you've got the host. That's the listener. Your computer, your phone, whatever. One talks, the other listens and acts. It's a really simple, really clear partnership.
Right, but just having a language isn't the whole story, is it? The mouse itself needs a way to actually speak this language. It needs its own little onboard brain to translate what your hand is doing into those digital words. And that brain is something called firmware. Now, this isn't software you download or install. Nope, it's baked right into the hardware of the mouse from the factory. The particular firmware we're looking at here is called IRAP, and its entire reason for existing is to be that perfect official translator. So, yeah, the firmware is the bridge. It's the magic piece in the middle that takes a physical action, like you clicking a button or spinning the scroll wheel, and transforms it into a clean, digital signal that the computer gets in a flash. Physical world to digital world, right there. All right, so think about a brand new mouse, fresh out of the box. Before it can do anything, it has to go through a little orientation. It needs to be told who it is and what its job is. It's kind of like giving the device its own little ID card before its first day of work. And this whole process really breaks down into four main things. First, you've got to turn on that HID language capability. Then, you define its skills, like what can it actually do? After that, you give it an official job title so it can announce to the world, hey, I'm a mouse. And last but not least, you configure the security so it can make a nice, trusted connection. Now, the absolute heart of this whole identity thing is something called the HID descriptor. And honestly, the best way to picture it is as the device's passport. It really is. It's this little chunk of data that a computer can look at and in an instant know everything important about the device. So, what's written in this passport? Well, for the mouse we're looking at, it's super specific. It's like occupation, pointing device, special skills. I've got 3 buttons and a scroll wheel. It even lays out its limitations, like saying, I report my movement on a scale from -127 to +127. It's all right there. And the way this gets set up is actually pretty straightforward. A command that looks something like this. That's the official declaration. And that number, that isn't random. It's the universal code that basically means, hey everyone, I'm a computer peripheral, and more specifically, I'm a pointing device. That one line of code, and boom, the mouse is officially a mouse. Okay, so our mouse has its passport, it knows its job title. Now what? Well, now it's time to actually meet the computer. And this first introduction is what we all know as pairing. It's the digital handshake. And this handshake happens fast, in 3 main steps. First up is discovery. Your computer basically shouts into the void, is anyone out there? And the mouse raises its hand. Next is pairing, where they swap info securely, kind of like exchanging phone numbers. And finally, you get connection. This is where they open up 2 communication lines, a control channel to keep things stable and a data channel for all the good stuff, the clicks and the scrolls. The whole point of doing this, by the way, is to build trust. Once they've done this handshake just one time, they remember each other. They save each other's details, and that means you don't have to go through this whole introduction ceremony every single time you turn your computer on. They just see each other, say, hey, I know you, and connect. Instantly. Okay, everything has been leading up to this.
The mouse knows who it is. It's shaken hands with the computer. They're connected. Now for the main event. How does its simple push of your hand actually send the signal that moves that cursor on your screen?
Get this. Every single time you move the mouse, I mean, even a tiny, tiny bit, it fires off a little, super efficient packet of data. It's called a report. And it's not like a continuous garden hose of data. No, it's more like a machine gun firing hundreds of these tiny little data bullets every single second.
And this is where we actually get to translate the code. So check this out. That gibberish on the left, that's the raw report. It's just a string of code. But let's decode it. The first bit is just a header, basically yelling mouse report coming in. Then you see that 00. That means no buttons are being pressed right now. Simple enough. Then 05. That's the important part. It means move 5 units to the right. And the last 00, don't move up or down at all. And that's it. That's the entire message. A perfect little sentence describing one precise movement.
So when you zoom out, every single thing you do with that mouse, every little nudge, every click, every flick of the scroll wheel, it's all just a stream of these tiny, perfectly structured packets of code, just flying through the air, from your hand to the computer, hundreds of times every single second. It's amazing when you think about it. And that kind of brings us to a bigger idea, right? This universal language, this HID profile, it completely solved the problem for things like keyboards and mice. It just works, plain and simple. So it makes you wonder, as we get more and more smart devices in our lives, in our homes, in our cars, what else could use a universal language like this? Where do we go from here?